the Environmental Learning Center at Clackamas Community College. I'm Maggie, an educator here at the ELC, and this is week 3 of our Wetland Wildlife live stream series, where each week we're going to be learning about a different animal that calls the wetland their home. So last time we learned about our friend the beaver, the week before that we learned about mallards, and this week we are learning about raccoons. Raccoons are a very iconic nocturnal animal. Nocturnal means that they are awake at night and sleep during the day. And raccoons are known for their dark mask around their eyes that makes them look like they're a robber or something, and then their nice, beautiful ringed tail. So raccoons are super cool. I'm super excited to be learning about them with you today. So in order to better get to know these guys, we're going to be taking a closer look over at this guy right here. We're going to become raccoons ourselves and look for the perfect habitat, also known as the perfect home for a raccoon. And then we are going to spy on some raccoons that live here at the ELC right now. It's going to be super exciting. So glad you're joining us. The ELC, as you can see behind me, is a wetland, and a wetland is an area of land that is covered in water. So you can see there's plenty of water behind me. There's also a lot of birds really active right now. I know there's a lot of mallards swimming in the water. I also just saw some spotted towhees, which are a nice little songbird flying around. And I also saw a squirrel run by. So I'm curious to see how many creatures behind me you'll be seeing today because it's very active. Despite the fact that it's really cold and it's still winter time, you can tell that spring is on its way because so many creatures are out and about and having a good time. So just a couple things before we get started. Michelle is once again our camera person, and she also will be the one monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions at any point during this live stream about raccoons, please make sure to put them in the Zoom chat, and I'll make time at the very end to answer them all. Another thing, you should hopefully have an activity sheet in front of you. This week's activity sheet is titled Rockin' Raccoons, and it has 5 boxes on it. And each box is labeled as a different aspect of a raccoon's habitat. So a habitat is a home for a raccoon where it finds everything it needs to live. So raccoons need space, food, water, shelter, and a place to raise their young. And by the end of today's live stream, you will know all of those things and where raccoons find them. And so you'll be able to draw in each of the little boxes of what a raccoon loves and needs to live. So without further ado, let's get started. I have a little raccoon friend here. This is a mount of a raccoon. It's quite a few decades old. It was a living raccoon at one point, and it had passed away and is now mounted so that we can look at it and learn about raccoons for years to come. This raccoon is a little bit smaller than your average raccoon. They're anywhere between like 10 and 20 pounds. And so what we've got here is, I would say this one's roughly 10 pounds. And it's also a little bit lighter in color than your average raccoon. Raccoons can be a couple of different various colors. But as you can see, this guy's mask, that kind of looks like a superhero's mask or like a thief's mask, is kind of a brown color. And you often, more often see it as like a dark gray, I would say. But there's lots of different theories as to why a raccoon has a mask like that. One is that it helps raccoons identify each other, so when they see another one, they go, oh yeah, you're a raccoon too. But also it could help with camouflage, or it could help with them seeing in the light. So, or despite bright light. So if you've ever seen a football player put on tape or paint underneath their eyes like this, the reason why football players do that is so that the bright sun doesn't get in their eyes too bad, and it actually helps absorb some of that light, and it helps their eyes see better. So that's one theory as to why raccoons might have darkness around their eyes. It might be like a football player. Another thing about a raccoon that's really cool is their front paws. Now, if raccoons are a superhero with a superhero mask, I would say that their superpower is their sense of touch. So how much they can feel things. Their front paws are very sensitive to touch, and they're also very good at picking up things and feeling things. And so when they're searching for food, a lot of time they're searching through food in shallow water, and they're putting their hands in and feeling around in hopes of being able to feel something that feels like food. So I want you right now, look at the desk in front of you, look at the objects you have. You hopefully have a pencil, your activity sheet, maybe some other small objects. Some mallards are flying around in the background. But looking at all of these objects on your table, I want you to grab one and then close your eyes and try to feel the object and visualize and see in your mind what that object looks like. For example, if you're holding your pencil, how long is your pencil? How many sides does your pencil have? How pointy is the tip of your pencil? Does it need to be sharpened? What about your eraser? Do you still have a lot of eraser left? See how vividly or how clearly you can see this pencil in your mind. Okay, that gives you a good idea of what raccoons do when searching for food. They're able to see in their mind just by feeling things and be able to think, oh, that feels like a snail. That's just one example of something that they would eat from the water. So very cool. But yeah, raccoons also have a beautiful furry coat. I have another one right here that I can actually feel. And I would say it's very soft. It reminds me of my dog's fur, and it keeps them nice and warm all throughout the seasons. And they also have this beautiful tail that helps them with balance. I would say in comparison, or when thinking about the beaver pelt that we felt last week, I would say that the raccoon's fur isn't as silky smooth as the beavers, because the beaver's fur is actually waterproof because they do a lot of swimming, and raccoons don't do very much swimming. They can swim, but they don't prefer it, and that makes sense because their fur doesn't seem super fit for swimming. Alrighty, that's a good idea of what our little raccoon friend looks like. So let's try becoming a raccoon ourselves and finding all of the aspects of a habitat. Like I said, when explaining the activity sheet, a habitat includes enough space for the animal to live, shelter to protect them from weather and from predators, food and water, and a place to raise their young. If an animal is able to find all five of those things in an area, they tend to stick around and live there because it's everything that they need. So let's take a look around, pretend like we're raccoons, and think about where we can find all five parts of the habitat. Well, firstly, for water, I see there's plenty of water behind us right now. Raccoons like to drink water just like we do, but they tend to drink it up from puddles or ponds like this. But the water is also super important for them to find food. So they'll stick their paws in the water and feel around, and sometimes they will eat fish, clams, snails, and also crawdads, which if you've never seen a crawdad before, they basically look like little lobsters in the water. They're pretty common in Oregon. And they also will eat plants and things on land as well. They'll eat small animals such as squirrels. But if we actually look over here, we actually have a lot of berry plants over here. We've got snowberries and other, we got roses with rose hip buds that the raccoons can eat as well. But to show you a closer look at the snowberries, I actually got a branch of them right here. So this is what the snowberry looks like. You see, they're named snowberry because they're white as snow. These are toxic to people, so please do not eat them if you see them here at the ELC. But raccoons love berries and fruits of all kinds, and so they likely would love to eat this up. If I was a raccoon, I'd be eating this for sure. Another thing raccoons look for a lot is worms and bugs in the dirt. So all around us, there's all types of dead leaves on the ground. And if I was a raccoon, I would definitely be searching around in there looking for stuff. I actually did search around a little bit earlier today, and I found some delicious things for me, the raccoon, to eat. You might have held one of these before. This is an earthworm. Oh, he's very active, wheeling around, looking for some dirt to crawl into. But yeah, if I was a oh, he's gonna crawl right up my sleeve. But if I was a raccoon, I would absolutely eat this guy. But I'm not, so I'm not going to. So let's go ahead and put him back. Okay. Raccoons are also very good climbers. That's something I didn't mention about their paws, are they're amazing at climbing up trees. So why do you think a raccoon might want to climb up a tree? Well, it could be because they find shelter from predators. So being high up in a tree, they can sleep on the branches. They can also find a hole in the tree to sleep in, and it provides them a lot of space and shelter. But they also might find some food up there. So there might be fruit, bugs, or also a bird's nest, perhaps. So I saw one of these up here. You see it? We've got a bird's nest right here. This is a robin's nest. You can tell it's a robin's nest because it's got a lot of mud in it. And it also has some nice light blue eggs in it, which are robin's eggs. So I placed that nest there, and that's the reason why I feel okay picking it up, because I know that it's been abandoned. But please, if you see a nest in real life, please don't pick it up because a bird is happily living there and you don't want to disturb them. But here are some eggs that we found, some robin's eggs that look nice and delicious to me, a raccoon. Um, and yeah, it's one of the raccoon's favorite things. If a raccoon happens to come across mallard's eggs on the ground, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, they would also happily eat those as well. So that's a delicious snack right there. Righty. What aspects of the habitat have we not gone over? For how to space to raise their young, raccoons typically give birth to female raccoons give birth to 4 kits annually, roughly, and they will raise them typically in a hollow log or under some rocks or wherever they will find shelter from the storm and has enough space for all of these kits to live. So, alrighty. So we've talked about where they can find food, where they can find water, where they find shelter, and where they raise their young, and that they have enough space here at the ELC to find all of those things. Now, before we wrap up today, I would like to show you just a couple of really quick things that have shown us that raccoons live here right now at the ELC, and we just haven't seen them ourselves because we're asleep when they're awake. So let's take a look at those. Alrighty, so 2 ways that we can tell that raccoons are around even when we don't see them is the fact that they'll leave tracks, which is the markings that their feet leave behind. And we can set up a trail camera, which allows us to just check the camera the next morning and we can see all types of animals that were walking around at night. So just a couple months ago, I saw these muddy paw prints here at the ELC. And I was thinking to myself, what animal could that be? So looking at this, how can we tell that this is a raccoon's paw rather than, let's say, a dog or a person? A great way to tell is how long their little fingers are. So raccoons have those great fingers that can pick up all types of things and do all types of cool stuff. And we can clearly see that here in the mud. Well, not so clearly, but you can look and see that they have these pretty long fingers. So I believe these are raccoon tracks. And then here we've got a trail camera of a raccoon here at the ELC. What do you think he's doing walking through the water? Is he looking for something? That's right, he's looking for food. And did you see that? Let's rewind that really quick. There's actually, as the raccoon is walking off screen, a little creature near the center runs from the right side to the left side. Let's see if we can see it. Do you see that? It's like hopping across the screen. Oh my gosh, so cool. So that's likely a crawdad, like I mentioned, of like a little lobster. It could also be a tiny little frog, which is another thing that raccoons love to eat. So very cool. I'm so happy that we were able to see such a great clear video of a raccoon here at the ELC. Alrighty. Do you have any questions for me about raccoons?
How long do the kids stay with their mom?
Okay, great question. Someone asked, how long do the kits stay with their mom? And that's a really good question. I remember when the kits are first born, they are born blind, so they can't see. And they don't begin to see for, I believe, roughly 20 days. So they, of course, have to stick by their mom that entire time. But as for how long in total, I think for a couple months they stay with the mom. And then they eventually, the mom teaches them all types of really cool things of how they can hunt on their own, teaches them how to climb. It's really cute before they're able to go off on their own.
Why do they get into people's garbage?
That's a great question. Someone asked, why do they get in people's garbage? Now, that's a really good point. I didn't mention raccoons are really good at living next to people, often because we don't even notice that they're there. I know that in my backyard, there is a raccoon currently living in a shed in my backyard, and I'm okay with it. But yeah, they love to get into garbage because the food smells really good and it's there. And because they have such great fingers, they're really good at opening up stuff. So you can put, a lock on something, and oftentimes they'll still figure it out because they're really smart and their fingers work really well. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining me today to learn about our friends, the raccoon. And I hope that you will join us next week in order to learn about the great blue heron, also known as the pterodactyl of the wetlands. I'm very excited. But until then, take care, get outside, and respect all those who live there. Okay, till then, bye.